Over recent years, Sunday Night has formed a pretty close bond with the big brother of the Bee Gees, Barry Gibb.
Barry Gibb, the legendary Bee Gee, has lived a life in the spotlight, celebrated for his unmatched contributions to music and his role in shaping the disco era. But behind the iconic harmonies and chart-topping hits lies a story of family, loss, and heartbreak, most notably surrounding his younger brother, Andy Gibb. Andy, once seen as the golden boy of pop music in the late 1970s, captivated fans with his charm, talent, and youthful energy. His meteoric rise to fame, however, came with intense pressure and personal struggles that few truly understood. For decades, speculation and rumors surrounded his life, his relationships, and the tragic circumstances of his untimely death at just 30. Now, decades later, Barry Gibb has broken his long-standing silence, offering unprecedented insight into who Andy really was behind the headlines. In Candid Reflections, Barry addresses misconceptions, family dynamics, and the personal struggles that shaped his brother's life. His revelations reveal a side of Andy Gibb that contrasts sharply with the public image of a carefree, effortlessly talented star. Andy Gibb was born in 1958 in Manchester, England, the youngest of the Gibb siblings. Growing up in a household steeped in music, he watched his older brothers, Barry, Robin, and Maurice, forge their path to international stardom. From an early age, Andy showed exceptional musical talent, effortlessly picking up instruments and developing a distinctive singing voice that would later define his solo career. By the mid-1970s, Andy had relocated to the United States to pursue his music career, seeking to carve out his own identity separate from his legendary brothers. His first single, I Just Want to Be Your Everything, catapulted him to the top of the Billboard charts, signaling the arrival of a new pop sensation. Fans were captivated by his charm, boyish good looks, and effortless stage presence. Despite his instant fame, the pressure to live up to the Gibb name weighed heavily on Andy. He was constantly compared to his older brothers, both by industry insiders and the media. While he embraced the spotlight, he also faced the challenge of establishing his own identity in a world that expected him to replicate the success of the Bee Gees. Andy's early success brought wealth, attention, and opportunities, but it also introduced him to the darker side of fame. Endless touring, rigorous recording schedules, and public scrutiny created stress that few teenagers or even adults could withstand. Barry Gibb has later revealed that the family constantly worried about Andy's well-being during this period, as he navigated the highs and lows of rapid stardom. Despite the pressures, Andy Gibb demonstrated remarkable resilience and determination. He consistently delivered hit records, performed with charisma, and won the hearts of fans worldwide. Behind the scenes, however, the intensity of the industry and the emotional toll of being the youngest Gibb sibling were taking their toll, laying the groundwork for the struggles and heartbreaks that would later define his story. Behind the glitz, glamour, and chart-topping hits, Andy Gibb faced pressures few outsiders could truly understand. As the youngest member of the Gibb family, he was constantly measured against his older brothers, Barry, Robin, and Maurice, whose careers with the Bee Gees had already reached legendary status. While fans saw a confident, charming young star, Barry Gibb reveals that Andy's personal life was fraught with challenges, insecurities, and a constant need for validation. Barry recalls that from a young age, Andy craved both independence and recognition. Moving to the United States in his late teens to pursue a solo career was both an opportunity and a heavy responsibility. Andy wanted to prove himself, to be more than just the youngest Gibb, yet the weight of expectation was relentless. Every record he released, every live performance, was scrutinized not only by fans, but by industry insiders who constantly compared him to the Bee Gees. The pressure to perform, excel, and maintain a public image that aligned with his talent was immense, and it took a silent toll on his emotional well-being. Behind the scenes, Barry reveals that the family constantly worried about Andy. While the brothers provided guidance, support, and mentorship, Andy struggled to balance fame with personal happiness. Late nights, constant travel, and the demands of touring made it difficult for him to establish stability. According to Barry, Andy often felt isolated despite being surrounded by friends, colleagues, and adoring fans. The loneliness was compounded by a tendency to internalize stress and self-doubt, which made it hard for him to openly ask for help or lean on others when he needed support the most. Another significant challenge was Andy's early exposure to the darker side of fame. Parties, alcohol, and peer pressure were omnipresent in the entertainment industry, and while he enjoyed socializing, some of these habits escalated in ways that later contributed to struggles with addiction. Barry emphasizes that Andy's behavior was not reckless in a superficial sense. He was a young man navigating an adult world of celebrity, and he made mistakes that were both human and understandable. Yet the industry and the media often painted him unfairly, reducing him to tabloid headlines rather than acknowledging the complexity of his experiences. In addition, Andy grappled with the tension between artistic ambition and commercial demands. His talent demanded meaningful expression, yet the music industry often pressured him to produce hits that fit a formula rather than his creative instincts. This internal conflict, combined with the external pressures from media and fans, created a constant struggle for balance. Barry notes that Andy felt torn between wanting to be authentic and the unavoidable commercial expectations that came with fame, a tension that left him emotionally vulnerable and searching for stability. Barry Gibb's reflections reveal a side of Andy that few people saw, a talented, sensitive, and deeply committed artist who was burdened by circumstances beyond his control. While the world celebrated his hits and charisma, Andy faced internal battles that shaped his behavior, decisions, and relationships. Barry's honesty underscores that the public image of a star is rarely the full story. Behind the music and lights, there are human struggles often unseen that define a person's life in profound ways. By revealing these truths, Barry not only honors his brother's memory but also challenges the misconceptions that have persisted for decades. Andy Gibb was not merely the carefree golden boy of pop culture. He was a human being navigating immense pressure, personal insecurities, and the complexities of fame, seeking love, validation, and understanding in a world that rarely allowed him the space to fully breathe. As Andy Gibb entered the peak of his career, the pressures of fame intensified. Despite achieving massive commercial success with hits like Shadow Dancing and I Just Want to Be Your Everything, Barry Gibb recalls that his younger brother struggled privately with emotional and personal challenges that the public rarely saw. The glittering facade of celebrity masked a profound sense of loneliness, insecurity, and the heavy weight of expectation that came with being part of the legendary Gibb family. During these years, Andy faced a dual reality. Professionally, he was adored, topping charts and performing to sold-out audiences. Personally, he battled internal turmoil. According to Barry, the constant travel, late-night performances, and media scrutiny left Andy exhausted and isolated. Even surrounded by fans and colleagues, he often felt misunderstood and overwhelmed. Fame, rather than providing joy, became a source of stress, amplifying insecurities and intensifying the pressures that had plagued him since childhood. Substance use began to play a more significant role in Andy's life during this period. Barry emphasizes that while tabloids sensationalized these struggles, the reality was nuanced. Andy was navigating an adult world of celebrity as a young man, often without the guidance or stability needed to manage the intense pressures. The combination of personal insecurities, industry expectations, and public scrutiny created an environment in which coping mechanisms, sometimes unhealthy, became a means of survival. Family dynamics also weighed heavily on him. Barry recalls countless conversations, late-night phone calls, and moments of quiet concern, trying to provide support without undermining Andy's independence. While the Gibb family offered guidance and love, Andy often felt caught between seeking their support and striving to establish his identity outside of their shadow. The tension between familial connection and personal autonomy was a recurring theme in his life, contributing to the emotional complexity that defined his final years. Barry Gibb has also revealed that the entertainment industry itself added strain. As the music landscape shifted in the early 1980s, the pressure to maintain commercial relevance grew. Expectations to replicate prior success, adapt to changing trends, and continue performing at peak levels created a relentless cycle. Even small setbacks or delays could trigger self-doubt and anxiety. Andy's vulnerability during this time was heightened by the public's perception of him as an untouchable star, a perception that ignored the human fragility behind the persona. Despite these challenges, Andy remained dedicated to his craft. He continued to record, perform, and connect with fans, demonstrating a resilience and passion that belied the personal struggles he faced. Barry emphasizes that these final years were not defined solely by hardship. They were also filled with moments of artistic fulfillment, love, and laughter, often away from the public eye. The contrast between public perception and private reality, however, became more pronounced as his health began to deteriorate. In retrospect, Barry's reflections reveal a tragic truth. Andy Gibb's final years were marked by the collision of immense talent, intense pressure, and personal vulnerability. He was a young man striving to meet expectations, navigate family dynamics, and cope with the challenges of fame, all while seeking happiness and self-understanding. His story reminds us that behind the bright lights and chart-topping hits lies a deeply human experience, one filled with struggle, resilience, and longing for peace. Barry Gibb's decision to finally speak openly about Andy Gibb offers a rare and intimate glimpse into the life of a man often misunderstood by the public. In sharing these reflections, Barry seeks not only to honor his brother's memory, but also to correct decades of misconceptions that have overshadowed Andy's legacy. Andy Gibb, while widely remembered as the charming, boyish pop star, was in reality a deeply sensitive, talented, and complex individual. Barry emphasizes that Andy's charm and success often masked a profound vulnerability. The pressures of fame, family dynamics, and personal expectations created emotional turbulence that few outside his inner circle could fully grasp. By revealing these truths, Barry paints a portrait of a man who was more than the headlines and the chart toppers. He was a brother, a son, and a passionate artist navigating life's challenges with courage, even when the world only saw a glittering exterior. One of the most important aspects of Barry's revelations is the emphasis on family bonds. Despite the struggles and misunderstandings, the Gibb family remained deeply connected. Barry recalls moments of laughter, support, and shared creativity that defined their relationship. These memories highlight a human side often obscured by celebrity gossip, the love, concern, and enduring loyalty that existed between the brothers. Even in Andy's most difficult moments, family was a source of grounding, providing him with a network of understanding and support. Barry also reflects on the lessons learned from Andy's life. The tragedy of his untimely death at age 30 underscores the fragility of youth, the perils of fame, and the importance of compassion and empathy. Barry stresses that Andy's story is not merely a cautionary tale of celebrity excess, but a testament to the pressures young talent faces in the entertainment industry. He urges fans and the public to remember the humanity behind the persona, recognizing the complexities and struggles that defined his brother's life. Through his honesty, Barry aims to shift the narrative. Rather than focusing solely on rumors, addiction, or the sensationalized aspects of Andy's life, he encourages a deeper understanding of his brother as an artist and a person. Andy Gibb's music, while iconic, is only one dimension of his legacy. Barry emphasizes the importance of acknowledging his personal journey, the resilience he demonstrated, and the love he inspired in those closest to him. In sharing these insights, Barry Gibb also confronts the emotional truths he himself has carried for decades. Speaking publicly about Andy allows him to process grief, celebrate his brother's talent, and educate the public about the realities behind the fame. It is a deeply personal act, one that transforms the narrative from one of tragedy to one of remembrance, understanding, and human connection. Ultimately, Andy Gibb's legacy is one of both brilliance and humanity. Barry's reflections remind us that behind the music, lights and fame lies a person who experienced joy, struggle, vulnerability, and love. By breaking his silence, Barry not only honors Andy's memory but also ensures that the truth about who he really was, complex, talented, and deeply human, is finally recognized. The story is heartbreaking, yet it is also a celebration of a life lived with passion, a reminder of the bonds of family, and a call to see the people behind the public personas we admire.